is not a ride-sharing video. What up, folks? Once again, it's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Civil unrest in Memphis is what we're going to be talking about. What are we on the cusp of? What is likely to take place in this country this weekend throughout a variety of metropolitan areas? Will we be able to potentially make it through whatever the hell we're going to see on video in a manner that is peaceful and conducive to normal life in America? So we're going to be asking folks, at the end of the day, no one's seen the video of any significance. Not a lot of us have seen the video, but we do want to analyze and ask the folks, what do you think we're going to be dealing with come this time tomorrow? They're deliberately releasing the video after hours, Friday after 6 p.m. Hopefully by then the working world has went home. A lot of folks are out in the town not watching the news. That is the intention. However, in this day and age when everyone has access to social media, the idea that releasing something after hours so that folks are not going to watch it on the news is not going to work. There are going to be people out at clubs or wherever the hell you'd be at 6 or 7 o'clock, restaurants, even riding home in a cab or on a bus, watching that release live. So it doesn't really matter when you release the video, but that's what we're discussing. Once again, unfortunately have to discuss this a couple days in a row, but do you believe there will be peace in America through this weekend? Or might this lead to, God forbid, a George Floyd type of outrage and outburst in this country? As always, this is a MAGA-friendly program. I do not ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. I make the solemn promise always. You come in the box, whether you agree or disagree with the host never means a damn thing. First Amendment free speech rights are paramount here. Looking in the comments, there is never peace. Wow. Really? There is peace in this country. I wouldn't say there's never peace. Where the heck? No. That's what the government is counting on. Tremeister, you believe the United States government is actually counting on us to become civilly disobedient? You think the government is counting on us to have riots and protests this weekend? Hopefully not. There's a lot of metropolitan areas right now still hurting from inflation and things of that nature. Natural disasters have happened in parts of this country that they haven't even recovered from now. We do not need widespread rioting and looting. I can't see the government counting on that to happen. All right, going to the box. Doc Sparkle Pony. Okay, that's a unique name. Let's make it happen. Sparkle Pony. Good afternoon and welcome to the program. We're talking about the video due to be released in Memphis, probably the most anticipated video since a Tyson fight. You think we're going to maintain peace, though?
Well, I mean, that's a tough question. I would say probably not. But do I think it's going to be a widespread civil uprising? No, I don't think it's going to be that either. I think there'll be pockets. I think there'll be certain places that have their different unrest. I think there'll be certain people that have their civil liberties that they're allowed to do, which is if they want to protest, go do it. Go ahead.
But not but you don't see it. You don't see it getting out of hand like with George Floyd.
I don't. But again, that's based on me saying, hey, I don't really know everything right now. I mean, it's just kind of me making my own assumptions. All right.
So why do you personally believe, unlike George Floyd, this may only result in pockets of violence? What do you see that's different potentially about this as opposed to George Floyd?
Do you want the God honest truth? And I hope I don't get banned.
God honest truth, as always. I don't censor, ban, or block. Give it to me straight.
I don't. I think it's been played too much in the media. I think there's too many people that have heard this story too many times. And that's not me being, a racist or a bigot. It's just me saying that it's been done so many times that I think the amount of attention that's been brought to it, it's dwindling. All right, it's dwindling.
Well, what you're saying, you believe we have become desensitized to police mistreating people?
I think we've become desensitized to the unrest part of it. Not that we've been desensitized to it, but going out and actually protesting, getting out in the streets, like doing those types of things. I think it's become too played out. I think it's become too many times it's happened. I think people are tired of going out there and doing that and seeing no change. And it's just human, uh, I guess you could say, condition that when you try it 100 million times, right? We've always heard this saying, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? Like, I think
Right.
people are just becoming insane with this idea, and that they don't want to go out there anymore because, like, what the hell is it doing? Like, it's not doing anything, so why the F should I waste my time?
So let
And
me let me ask it to you from this standpoint. Now, in the George Floyd case, the obvious bad guy, Derek Chauvin being Caucasian and George Floyd being black, do you see any difference with all of the players involved in this? At least from the standpoint we know right now, they're all black. Do you think that makes any difference?
I think it makes a difference for certain people that want to make it like a talking point, but I personally don't. I think that what makes a difference is the fact that um, we have decided that there's either a good or a bad or evil, right, in this country, a good or an evil, right, and we've
Right.
decided which color that is. It's either blue or red, right, and we've decided we're going to go on one side or the other, right, and so I think it's a talking point for everyone on different sides, sure, but I don't think that it matters at all. First of all, we all live in, and this is one thing that you said on your show the other day that I wanted to get on and just didn't make it in, but you know we are a union of states. That's why we're called the United States. Like, we are a union of states, but we all
Hmm.
have our own constitutions, each state, right? And
True.
so like each state has their own way of doing legislation and law enforcement and all this stuff. And it's really difficult to answer some of the questions that you ask because we're not a federal, like, federally run. The FBI doesn't come to my house, okay? The FBI goes to other people's houses sometimes, but that's not the first police action that's done on most citizens, right? It's our
Yeah,
local
that's true.
jurisdiction, it's our sheriffs, like those kinds of things. And so it's difficult to say, like, well, what's going to be the outcome because, well, I mean, there's 50 different constitutions in 50 different states and 50 different ways, that things
Yeah,
happen.
but the Constitution from state to state doesn't vary that much. It's not
It
like
does.
the laws in it is not like the laws in state A are significantly different than in state B. I mean, the way people live their lives in Alabama is totally different than in New York. But if you move from New York to Alabama, for the most part, you will be able to do mostly everything you did in New York. The constitutions vary, but it's only by a slight difference.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. But again, the way the local jurisdictions are handled and through the sheriff, which the big thing that people need to understand is local jurisdictions, your police, they don't raise their hand to the Constitution and swear to it. The sheriff does, okay? The sheriff is the
Okay.
only state accredited, if you will, law enforcement agency that says that they will abide by your state constitution. Your local jurisdiction abides by local rules. And so
Yeah.
that's where it matters and where it changes is local rules change when you go to different states. And so the way that law enforcement handles things isn't necessarily a blanket sweep of it must be done this way. And
Yeah.
I think that's where people are misinformed is that, guess what, guys? I wish that we would all fall under the sheriff and that we would all have a very, because I've served in the army. I wish that we would all have a standard and standard operating procedure and that everything was done a certain way and people were trained a certain way. But that's just not how it's done in our country right now. And
Yeah.
it it needs to, in my opinion, it needs to change. I'm running for congressman in two
Well,
years. It needs to
Well,
change.
we can certainly hope that there's some change. But listen, Doc, I do got to move it on as usual.
Hmm.
Appreciate you coming through. Hey, good talk. All right, looking in the comments. God bless. Your black card is removed, effective immediately, says TikTok Hip Hop 24. Gonna assume it's because of the MAGA hat. Real quick to get the spiel out, you see the name of the program. I do not make any qualms about the fact that I lean left politically. The purpose of the hat is to let folks on the right know, particularly conservatives, Republicans, and damn sure MAGA. You are always welcome on these broadcasts. I believe conservatives, Republicans, and definitely MAGA do not often get a fair play or a fair shake in the media. They are quickly banned, censored, or blocked. This hat is my light in the middle of the night to let MAGA know you will always get a fair play in terms of your First Amendment free speech rights. That is the purpose of the hat. Looking in the comments. There is a city in Minnesota. It's illegal to leave your elephant on the street overnight. I don't think many Americans own an elephant, but that is funny. I wouldn't even explain it to these fools, Tim. Eric on 2S, I appreciate that. Listen, I always like to talk to folks. Big Ivy in the box. Let's make it happen. Good afternoon, Big Ivy. And I'm holding my tablet up because unfortunately the color of my shirt is making it hard to read the comments, so I have to hold up something for a background. Good afternoon, Big Ivy. Are we looking at civil unrest, or hopefully will the country remain peaceful after this video is released?
I'm sure there's going to be some riots and probably a lot more riots later on this weekend.
Shit. Why though? The folks have been charged with murder. What is the goal of the rioters? What do they want?
They want the police to pay, but just letting you in on a little information, they just released a Paul Pelosi video. Or some
of him
of
getting
it.
his ass kicked. They released a video of him getting his ass kicked. Now,
yeah, they showed where he's breaking in the back door. He dropped a big old backpack. I thought it was a lover squirrel for some reason. I was just goofy, but it showed the police going up to the door. Paul opening the door with that David guy standing there. They was wrestling around with the hammer, and within seconds, he smacked Paul Pelosi in the head.
Mm. Now I heard folks on the right suggest that didn't happen, that this was a gay lover or something of that nature. So you're saying the video verifies that was bullshit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that guy is going to spend the rest of his life probably in prison or in a mental hospital or something like that. But you got folks in regards to, a little bit off the topic, but in regards to the FBI suggesting that it is the rhetoric from Trump and oftentimes MAGA that's leading to these hateful events. Do you see any validity to that?
Yeah, I see a little bit to that, but it's just stuff leading to it was questionable. Why was he, why wasn't the police there within seconds?
It's the house of the lead. Wait a minute. This woman is in place to be number 3 in terms of the country, and she's that powerful. You'd have to wonder why the police didn't live there.
Yeah. Yeah, they had the house under surveillance.
Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't shock you that the police were quick to respond to an incident at the home of Nancy Pelosi. That seems normal.
Yeah, but it took a while. No, it took long for them to get there. They should have been there when he was busting in the back door.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't get how they didn't have better security. You shouldn't be able to break into somebody's, like Nancy Pelosi's home with a hammer. If I'm in Nancy Pelosi's position, knowing how many people, I mean, the hatred towards Nancy Pelosi is real. I don't think there's anybody more hated from folks on the right than Nancy Pelosi, other than maybe Hillary Clinton. She should have been living in a damn bunker. I don't get how it was that easy to break in her house.
Yeah, I think that's where all the people were having questions about it.
Yeah. I don't get how she would have been, how their security would have been that relaxed. If I lived in her situation, it's not like she didn't have the money. I would certainly have at least a couple black ops guys living on the property. It makes no sense how you could use a hammer and get into her crib and actually get to the husband. I mean, not even a Ring doorbell. It sounded really relaxed. It sounded really relaxed in terms of security.
Yeah. Well, I hope we don't have no riots, but I don't know. But I'll let you go, and I appreciate it.
Always a good talk, Big Ivy. You know what? You can always welcome back. Good talk, man. Okay, look in the comments. Congress is all corrupt. Insider trading assets info before the public. That came from Do M3 is solid. What happened to Trump suggesting he was going to drain the swamp? Why are we suggesting that after 4 years of Trump and his promise of draining the swamp, that Congress is just as corrupt as they were before he came? He said the phrase over and over again, promises made, promises kept. This was a promise to drain the swamp. Yet I hear many folks who are passionate supporters of Trump suggesting that the swamp still exists. What happened? Trump joined. Okay, he is the swamp, says R. Mac. Wow. P reverting, what does that say? Perverting elected leaders from, I don't, you're the way you type that, I don't get that. They kept Trump. Wow. You can't prosecute people with the DOJ. That is corrupt. Abby Katko, in regards to the idea that Trump's going to be ultimately prosecuted by the DOJ for those documents, I think that is, for the most part, gone. Now that you are starting to find out a lot of other folks in similar positions, Mike Pence, Biden, and who knows who the hell else also possess classified documents, I think the case against Trump at this point is a moot point. I just don't see anything developing out of it. At this point, the only thing Trump has done compared to the other ones is obstruction. He didn't want to hand the documents over, but they all are in possession of classified documents. The only difference is he knew he had classified documents and was fighting not to give them up. They're not going to go after a former president for obstruction. I just do not see it. And in the comments, I can't pronounce the name. Something Floyd the Wall says they can't touch Trump. Well, put on the old 1990s song from MC Hammer, Can't Touch This. It does appear to be that way. He does appear to be untouchable. Jonathan, 3572 in the box. Let's make it happen as our MAGA friendly program. Tap the screen, get your boy up to 10,000 likes, 400 plus of us in here. The algorithms tends to bring more MAGA. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome too. Jonathan, good
What's up?
afternoon.
What's up, handsome liberal? I'm a liberal too.
I, always welcome on the program. Are we going to behave this weekend in this country?
Behave. Why wouldn't we?
Behave. Say that again.
Why wouldn't we?
Because of a video that we're about to watch. I'm going to assume the ratings for this video of Tyre down in Memphis will probably be greater than the last episode of MASH. Everybody's going to see this. But are we going to behave after looking at it?
Of course we will, because there's been swift justice. I mean, this is the fastest a cop have ever been charged. And I did a live last night talking about the of how the difference between how black cops are treated and white cops are treated.
You know, you're not the first to say that, because there was a Somali police officer up in Minnesota that shot a white woman. She was an Australian immigrant that came over here, was visiting or something, and he shot and killed her. And they quickly wrapped that case up and threw that cop in jail. So you're suggesting that these cops met swift justice potentially because they're black?
Exactly, because they are black. If they would have been white officers, we wouldn't have been seeing the video this early. In fact, we'd have heard a lot of people saying, "Well, he should have just complied." A lot of people would have said, "Wait on they know something we don't. We can't rush the video." There was a young man, Jaheim McMillan, shot in the head, unalive, in Gulfport, Mississippi, in October. The video have not been released from that Gulfport police department yet. This was a white officer, unalive, a young black man, 15 years old.
I
They
have not, I
still
have
have
not
not
heard of this.
released the video.
Has
Google
Ben
it.
Crump gotten involved in the case you're talking about down in Gulfport? Because I have not heard about that one.
I don't know. I don't know. But a lot of content creators, there was this white lady, I can't call her name, but she's a content creator. She reported this story when it first happened. But he was in a dollar store, and the cops told him to stop. and they say he had a weapon. They told him to drop the weapon, and several people, white and black, testified to the fact that he had his hands up in the air, complying with the officer when they shot this child in the head.
Well, I would just in slight, very slight defense of police. I would say I would like to see the video because
Exactly.
there's a huge anti sentiment towards police, and even if the police are doing their job, it's not uncommon for witnesses to say that the police were wrong. People don't like the cops nowadays, so I would have to see because I've seen some situations such as I cannot think of the guy in Ohio that jumped out of the car. I can't think of his name right now, but he jumped out of the car and took the police on a high speed chase, and they shot him like 60 times or something like that. And folks are saying that the cops was wrong, and I mean he got shot a bunch of times, but he did seem like a justifiable kill to me. I think his name is Jalen Walker. I got hammered for saying this guy is a justifiable kill, but looking at the video evidence, what he did was wrong. So I would like to see what the video of
I
what you're talking
that
about.
they had on New Year's Day, on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, his family and the community had a visual calling for the police department to release the video. As I said, this happened. This happened, I think, the 22nd of October when this child was shot by the police officer and unalive. It was a white cop. If if you are correct in saying that he did not comply and that he had a weapon, why not release the video?
You talking well, yeah. In that case, I do agree, and it's not uncommon for the police to try to delay releasing videos or not release them altogether. Even with what's going on with Tyre down in Memphis right now, it is deliberate that they're waiting on to a Friday evening before releasing the video. They're trying to do that in hopes of people have gotten off work, they're out partying, and they're not paying attention to the news. Now, in 2023, people can watch the news on their phone. So that's not
Yeah.
going to work anymore. You can be on a bus home, coming home from work and watch the news. So people are going to see this, but yeah, it is not a coincidence at the timing of when. I'm surprised they didn't release the shit at 2 in the morning. They trying for people not to watch it.
The whole point of my live last night, Hampton Little, was asking the question: are there a double standard when it comes to white and black cops? I mean, these were five black cops killed unalive the black man. And how many days? Is it been what is eight? It was 8 or 18 days since this happened. And
I
not
don't.
only have they been charged, they also releasing the video this afternoon.
Yeah.
And like I
Well,
said, there's several other instances where white cops have killed black people, and the videos still have not been released.
yeah.
And the only thing I was saying is, why we're not taking up for these officers. They was wrong. They should have been charged, and I'm glad they was charged. But we need to keep that same energy when it comes to white cops. I haven't heard anything about the police union stepping in for these black guys. I haven't heard anybody back the blue for these black guys. Have you?
No. It's a good
Nothing.
point. I've had a few police officers and folks in law enforcement come on the program, and even they have stated that there is a difference in terms of black cops versus white. I had a guy get on here the other day. He was a black individual, and his dad was a retiree in the police department. And he said his dad used to tell him, as a cop, yeah, there is racism in my department. I'm not a cop, I don't have any ties to the business. But there's no way I could ever pretend like racism in these institutions do not exist when people who actually work in the institutions themselves, whether white or black, are admitting it takes place. So there's nothing I can say on that. But Jonathan, I'll give you the last word. I got to move on.
Well, I appreciate you, and I always enjoy your lives, and I base my lives off of your lives.
Oh,
I
shit.
welcome everybody. I welcome everybody. MAGA, conspiracy theory. I don't care who you are. You welcome on my platform, and I got that from you, Hampton Liver. But
I
I was
appreciate
also
you.
watching you and Lou one day. I was so upset with Lou when he done you like he done you that day. That was uncalled for. I haven't got a chance to
Hey,
tell him yet, but that was
hey,
uncalled for.
everybody runs their program differently. He's a little different, but I do appreciate you tuning in. If I see your live, I'll certainly request to come in and chat with you, man. Good
You
talk.
welcome anytime. Y'all have
All
a
right.
blessed one.
You too. Okay, looking back in the I have to hold this up because I can't read with the damn color of my shirt. There's another beloved Uncle Tom. You know, I cannot tell you, even though I'm a liberal from the south side of Chicago, enjoying my conversations with MAGA and folks from the other side of the aisle, it is almost disheartening. Damn, who sent that? Appreciate that. I don't know who sent it, but I was trying to make a point. It is disheartening that I get so many African Americans, because it's all black people, referring to me as Uncle Tom. I hate it. I mean, it's people that look like me. What the hell am I supposed to do with that when my primary viewers are MAGA? I get a lot of that from African Americans. Stevie D. Appreciate the crown there. Appreciate that. You just can't win. Yeah, Fig, I agree. Talk about the Atlanta cop town being built. I'm not aware of that. Wait a minute. I have heard about that. Didn't Antifa or somebody try to attack that? I don't know a lot about the parameters of it, but I have heard a little bit about it. It's worth looking into. I may do that, and we may discuss that in the future. JP Parker, I appreciate your generosity. Robert Giuseppe Covino, I think that says. Let's make that happen. Good afternoon, Robert. Anyways, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to maybe 20,000 likes. There's 500 plus of us in here. MAGA-friendly zone. We do not ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. Disagreeing with the host never means a damn thing here. Appreciate you folks rolling with your boy. Robert, good afternoon. Robert, are you with me? Okay, apparently we do not. Let's keep it moving. Real quick, and everyone knew Chauvin guilty, still riots. Well, let me respond to that. MacGyver, great 80s show. Really was a big fan of MacGyver. In regards to Derek Chauvin, which some would believe that this is the reason why Memphis is moving so fast. We all saw the video of Derek Chauvin before the riots, before he was charged. And you're looking at a clear-cut case of a man's life being taken, and there was no charges. They did not charge Derek Chauvin for about 4 days after the police, or better yet, the public had access to that video. There is no denying that the amount of outrage and rioting that took place was out of sheer anger of how the hell could you have a clear-cut case of murder on tape and not even charge this guy. So I believe if you're taking the analysis of your humble correspondent, I believe they rushed to charge these folks to prevent what happened in that case. Because apparently, if you listen to the folks who have seen the video, it is awful. Ben Crump, we know he is a civil rights attorney. He is, for the most part, not necessarily on the side of police. We get it. But his description is that they beat the guy for 3 solid minutes. Can you imagine getting your ass whipped by 5 people and having to slowly count to 180? That is a hell of an ass whipping. You probably won't finish the count. He also states that they tried to sit the guy up, either on a curb or against a car, and he was literally falling over. He was already completely out of it. And they didn't even render any type of assistance or anything at all. So apparently this video, Jonathan, appreciate the hat and mustache. Shout out to you. This video actually sounds like it's probably going to be a tearjerker. Very similar to the George Floyd case. Because according to Crump, and I'm not taking a word of Crump, but he did see the video, so I'm just giving you what he said. This guy, very similar to George Floyd, was pleading for his life. There was rumors he called out for his mother again and all of that shit. Asked, why are you doing this? If you can hear that on tape and you're watching police officers, members of law enforcement, showing the man no mercy and beating him up while he's pleading for help, it does provoke emotions. Now, we won't know if that is the case until we see the video, but that is going to piss off a lot of people. If you got 5 men that are ignoring the pleas of help from somebody that's literally being essentially killed right in your face. You know, we watch a lot of violence in this country in terms of television and video games and things like that are violent as well. But when you know it's a real person and you're watching their life being beaten out of them right in front of you, the emotions come out. The emotions come out. So we'll see what ends up happening. But looking in the comments, prosecutors said it was horrific. Yeah, and that's another issue where you know some shit is bad when they fire the cops right away. Because you know that our country tends to still be pro-police and side with the police. So even though they should have been charged at the time they were dismissed, that shows you that it had to be pretty bad, because at the very least they fired them right away. They should have charged them right away. But they were already on the road to some form of disciplinary action just from what they see. So my guess is, yeah, the video is probably going to be a tearjerker. Hopefully we do not have civil unrest in this country, but as one of my guests said, there probably will be pockets of it. There are people who are already looking for a reason to do some shit. I refer to them as opportunists. They're going to act. They are going to act. Mob mentality will take place. Let's move it on to Willie Hawkins 561. And I appreciate you folks that are following the program. Like civil discourse from both sides of the aisle without any fear of censorship being banned or blocked. Follow the program. This is what we discuss here. The program is indeed MAGA friendly, but liberals are welcome as well, with no fear of censorship or being blocked. Willie Hawkins, good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm hoping that it stays that way. Do you believe we're going to have civil unrest with this?
What I see is it's kind of weird, strange that how quick they get. First of all, how quick the cops are being charged.
Yeah, impressively quick.
In other cases with this, the cops, they was on administrative leave, and there was a little time period, but this happened so quickly. But the part that I don't understand is, even a death is a death. How come nobody's rioting about it? Why is they're not policing the police? Why are they not out with Black Lives Matter signs out? We can do that if the situation was different, where if it was been all white cops that killed someone, they would have been out rioting and protesting.
Wait a minute, though. Let me interject, and I'll let you continue. Think about a Black Lives Matter protest or riot. What are they saying? Black Lives Matter. No justice, no peace. So when you ask, why are they not out now protesting because it's black on black issue, there's two reasons. First of all, in regards to the phrase no justice, no peace, these folks have been charged with murder. So the no justice, no peace argument does not apply, whereas generally it does. Because usually when they're protesting, it's involving cops that have not been charged even with a crime yet. So they have been charged. So that's the first issue. But in regards to whether we would do this or not, if the person was white versus black, there are plenty of black police officers, such as the ones that killed Freddie Gray in Baltimore, I believe it was, or the guys who killed I think the guy fell asleep drunk in the Wendy's parking lot down in Georgia, and he tried to take their taser and they killed him. And those are black cops. I mean, so there are cases where black cops have harmed black people and riots still happen. So I don't think it's an issue of, well, it ain't white cops this time, so they're calm. It's the fact these folks have been charged. They are facing murder charges. That usually doesn't happen.
I guess where the issue comes at is the media, because it's what the media want to put out real quick. Because, like, I just heard about this on yesterday, and I believe this happened at the beginning of the month, I think. And I literally just heard about it on yesterday on the news, when they had came in with the breaking news. The 5 cops was charged with second-degree murder. And it was just like, oh, wow, when did this happen? And to hear that it was at the beginning of the month, and yeah, they, went through the due process of charging them real quickly. My thing is, how come why they was charged so quick? In other cases like this, there was a time period.
Well,
Because, like,
what about
with
my
the George
previous
Floyd case?
What about what my previous guest suggested, meaning that they got charged quicker because they treat black cops who are irresponsible different than white cops? Do you see any possibility that that may have something to do with it?
I see that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I am glad, regardless of what race they are, if the video
That
looks as bad as people are suggesting, at least they did charge them. Because
yeah,
if
and that's good that they did charge them in a timely manner. But it's just it's racism would never end until we all can get along together, and it's going to have to start with blacks not going against black people. And it really sickens me that when I have to see that we going against our own kind for whatever reason, instead of tearing them down, let's help build each other up, and
what do
then
you
we
mean?
can make
But
a
what do you
difference.
mean by blacks going against blacks? Elaborate. What do you mean by that?
Because like with this case right here, there was 5 black cops and they beat the crap out of that black man.
Yeah,
Now, for
yeah.
whatever reason, they was chasing him or whatever, it didn't have to lead up to the point where they had to take his life like they did.
Right.
And when you look at it, blacks always going against blacks no matter what, with the gangs. If you got something better than another black person, they want to take it. Instead of trying to tear each other down, let's start trying to build each other up.
Well,
If I see,
I don't know for certain if it's just totally a racial play, because if you are a white person in the mob or in some type of organized activity, you're going to have problems with the cops as well. There are plenty of white mob figures that have had their asses beat by the cops. I mean, if the cops see you as a criminal element, and I'm not suggesting that this guy was a criminal in any way, fashion, or form, but if the cops have a negative viewpoint towards you, it can happen no matter what color you are. Meaning, like, for instance, old movies, like, let's say Boys in the Hood from the early 90s, featured
oh
Cuba
wow,
Gooding Jr. Yeah, Cuba Gooding Jr. in that movie had a problem with a black cop. And that's
I
30 years
remember.
ago. I believe it was Ice Cube who once had the lyrics, "Black police showing up for the white cop." So it doesn't really matter. The cops versus blacks, it's really a blue versus black thing. I don't really think it's necessarily white versus black. I think it's blue.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It
go ahead.
No, I just it really is sickens because that was whatever the reason that they was after him. I'm sure that before it had to lead to them using their weapon, they could have used a taser. And
Yeah.
that's just my thing. Why resort to your weapon first of choice versus your taser?
Yeah, I don't. According to Crump, yeah, they were tasing him, macing him. It sounded like he went through a hellified beating. I'm assuming he probably received some fists. He certainly said he was getting kicked, so he was just, for the most part, getting stomped. I mean, it sounds very similar to Rodney King. Now, I don't think the police now carry the batons or anything like that anymore. But whatever they had,
No.
other than a gun, it sounded like they used it on dude.
Okay, see, I haven't saw that part of the video yet. So, maybe they did have a good reason. I don't know, but it's just, it's sad that, this had to happen.
Yeah. My guess
Uh,
is it happens a hell of a lot more than we catch it. This one just happened to be on video. But Willie, I gotta
exactly.
move it on, man.
Yep. Yeah,
Appreciate
it's
you
a
coming
pleasure
through.
talking to you.
Absolutely. Come on back through anytime. Comments. I have to hold up my tablet so I can see here. By caller, you make no sense. What did he say, Miss T? I don't see anything where that gentleman said that didn't make sense. But feel free to come in the box. Give you a chance to state your point without any fear of censorship or being banned. Is there a video? I'm not really sure what we're talking about here. Kev, yes. The answer to your question is an emphatic yes. That video is due to be released by the Memphis Police Department tonight after 6 p.m. I would submit to you, if you turn on cable news, any cable news channel, whether it is MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, or even Headline News Network, Reuters, RA, any of them will be talking about this. So yes, there is a video. This probably will get ratings that resemble the last episode of MASH. Everybody's going to see this. So yeah, there is a video out there. By your rationale, you think criminals who happen to be black are victims. Pete Elias. No, I do not believe a criminal is a victim. However, a criminal absolutely can be victimized. There are rules on how to deal with criminals. You can overstep those rules. I can steal a bag of potato chips and become a criminal. That doesn't mean I should lose my life. So you can be a criminal and a victim simultaneously. In this country, a lot of folks do not have a tolerance for criminality at all. So the hatred towards criminals is so strong that if you happen to die while committing a crime, I'm all for it, regardless of what the crime may be. That's where the problem is because the police can feed on that. I know your hatred of criminals, speaking of anyone who feels this way, I know your hatred of criminals is so strong that if I do something to someone that I shouldn't have done, and I can convince you that they were a criminal, you'll probably let me off. Hence the phrase, dirtying up someone. That's what they generally do. The minute they overstep their boundaries, let me dirty this person up because I know if you feel they're dirty, you won't care what happened to them. Looking in the comments here, I would love to come in the box. I'm at work. Miss T, anytime you're not, you're welcome on the program. Going straight to the box, Anthony, 6195. Good afternoon, Anthony. Welcome back to the program. Cops are not judge, jury, and executioner. They're not supposed to be. Good point. Anthony, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Big Tom.
Hey, so you think this is going to end peacefully, or you think people are going to get crazy tonight?
I don't think nobody's gonna get crazy. Because like you said earlier, they made a swift move about it. Most of the time when you see uproars and riots and disturbances, it comes from the lack of clarity that the police officers and the police unions give us.
Yeah. I don't see anybody. You got the police from day one suggesting that what these guys did was wrong. But like one of my other previous callers said, they still waited too long. These dudes should have been charged with murder the minute they saw the video.
Yeah, but there's still cops. And Mr. Johnson, the gentleman before the last gentleman, he made very valid points. In every situation where you see a black officer doing wrong, they're giving up immediately. You usually don't see the police unions fighting for them. You don't see the police departments rallying to keep their names private. Black officers that get caught doing dirt, usually names come out almost immediately.
So what you're basically saying is the racism in this country even extends to law enforcement, where they're racist amongst each other.
Oh, definitely.
Wow.
You have situations in certain states where black police officers have to have their own police unions.
Really? I've never. Wow, yes. That's bad. I have never heard of that. Damn. Yeah, Go ahead.
Yeah, because they know that the regular police unions aren't going to stand up for them the way that they stand up for the other cops.
That's really bad because you hear folks talk about the thin blue line and your brothers in arms, but you're saying that if you are a black brother, they're going to treat you differently. I mean, that's really bad, but I can't dispute what you're saying because I've had cops on the program that agree with you. It just sounds awful.
Yeah, it's a fact. And the sad thing is, and this is the sad thing, those brothers were so indoctrinated into believing that they're blue lives, that they could do that to a black man, and he looks just like their uncle, their brother, their nephew, their cousin, all because he ran from them. This is something that's never really talked about in situations where we talk about police having to chase people. Well, that's been the MO of criminals since day one. We have a whole sport industry based off of people running from the police.
But wait a minute. What about Chris Rock's? You can see his video on YouTube where he talks about how not to get your ass kicked by police. And one of the things he states in the video that if you run from police and they have to catch you, they're going to bring an ass whooping with them, which leads to the obvious question. Why do you think so many people run from police? Generally, it doesn't turn out good. In most cases, they will catch up with you.
Do you want the real answer, or do you want the politically correct answer?
I'll only contact you for the real. I want your
The,
actual opinion.
the real answer is 90% of the people who run from the police are trying to get something off of them. And the police know this because growing up, when we ran from the police, it was a misdemeanor. You run, you get out, you get whatever you got off of you, get it off of you. When you get caught, you take whatever you're going to take because once you get to jail or get where you're going, they can only charge you with a misdemeanor. Well, the police got hip to that. And in the early 2000s, they made running from them a felony. So now watch what I'm going to paint for you. They made it a felony. So now they don't have to say that these guys ran from them. They automatically tell you it's felony eluding. And when you hear
But
the
wait a
word
minute,
felony,
but think about what you're saying, because I get a lot of my folks on the right side of the aisle that would suggest one of the reasons blacks have so much trouble out of police is because they keep committing crimes. What you're essentially doing is you are validating that statement by saying, even though you whipped my ass and charged me with a felony for running, the purpose of why I was actually running was to get rid of something that would have probably led to me getting a felony. So
now,
you're admitting that they're in the process of committing a crime. Am I getting that right?
now, Hansel, I'm gonna say this,
Okay.
and let me walk you through it. If you go into a rich neighborhood, 100 houses in a rich neighborhood,
Okay.
and you stop a kid that's walking down the street, and you go through his pockets, you're gonna find the same amount of drugs in rich neighborhoods as you find in poor neighborhoods. The only
Okay.
difference is in poor neighborhoods, we're policed for it. In rich neighborhoods, they're not policed for it. So they can feel comfortable with officer friendly riding through their neighborhood and not having to take off running because they know if this gentleman stops them, it's probably going to be for a conversation.
Yeah, but listen to what you're saying. Even if what you're saying is true, you're saying in rich neighborhoods, white kids can get away with committing a crime, but in our neighborhoods, we're over police. So if we got it on us, we can get caught. At the end of the day, you're
These are
admitting that
facts.
you are admitting that the people that are having problems with police are criminals. You're just saying that the police are around them more and catch them,
No,
but you are making it sound like they're. Go
what
ahead.
I'm saying is we're criminalizing shit that people in America do every day. That's what I'm saying. We're criminalizing. If most people who have drugs on them, most people who have drugs on them, which everybody does drugs at the
Wait, you
same rate.
believe that? Wait, you believe that most people have illegal drugs on them?
I said most people who do have drugs on them.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, most
Keep
people
going.
who do have drugs on them. It's at the same rate. You feel what I'm saying? White people do
I
drugs
don't
just as
disagree.
much as black
Let
people
me
do.
interrupt. Let me interrupt and say this. I don't disagree that we are policed more than they are in upper class communities and even in white communities. However, I don't have a lot of sympathy for somebody that's saying I would have got away with the crime if there weren't so many police around. That's what it sounds like you're saying.
No, I mean, you can make it sound like that because I know that you play, you're a provocateur,
I'm trying
and
not to be.
I know you do. That's why I love watching your
I
show because
feel you. I
you're gonna
feel
ask
you.
both sides questions, but at the end of
Right,
the day,
right.
you have a group of people who have the same amount of drugs that can afford to have nice neighborhoods, have nice things, not fighting and do whatever it takes to get the drugs because they have the means to get it. Then you have the same amount of drugs in neighborhoods where it's poverty. So you're gonna see more of the bickering and the arguing and the fighting and the things that come along with drugs. You're gonna see that because it is what it is. One is more police than the other one, but in neither neighborhood is there less crime going on when it comes to, and when it's related to drugs. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, how do you Pete Elias in the comments? You talk about playing devil's advocate. I got to bring his comment to you. I want to get your take on this. And by the way, folks, tap the screen, get your boy up to 30,000 likes. This is what we do here. Feel free to follow the program if this is the shit you like to discuss. In the comments, Pete Elias says, "Don't commit a crime and run." How do you respond to that when we basically, even what you're saying is that people are running that have stuff on them? How do you respond to somebody that simply says, "Don't commit the crime and run"?
That's easy for you to say when we've been watching us get our ass whooped on TV since what's his name in LA, Rodney King.
Rodney King.
You know, it's easy for you to say don't run when we're getting our ass whooped on TV.
But even obviously, I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, so I was an adult when Rodney King, that whole situation happened. But even with Rodney King, and what they did to him was obviously horrible, and they got off with that shit. They should have served plenty of years in jail. But Rodney King is fleeing through the streets, putting lives at risk, running at high speed. So I don't want us as a people, whether you're black or white, to look at Rodney King and say, I don't want to end up like him, knowing you don't go out and do stuff like he did. The guy was clearly committing a host of felonies, and what happened to him was wrong. But you don't want to use him as an example, right?
Yeah, I don't want to have to use him as an example. But when we have examples of kids shooting 9 people in a church, or people shooting people in 12 people in a grocery store, or people shooting schools up and going to prison without a scar on them, then what I'm saying is treat all criminals the fucking same. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, and I don't disagree with the fact that police do seem to treat African American criminals different than white criminals. But how about the suggestion that if you are not a criminal to begin with, you do not have to worry about being in that envelope? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, but when you can be a criminal because you're black, and you know that, sir, you know that we've been pulled over, we've been approached by police officers just for being black.
Yeah. I don't disagree with driving while black. I've faced that as well, but I've never gotten my ass beat by police or decided to take off running and get shot. I
haven't either. Yeah. I haven't either.
Yeah.
But the difference is it can happen to you. It can happen to you.
Yeah.
That's the
difference.
And I see somebody in the
comments. Yeah, I see somebody in the comments pointing out Philandro Castile, which is a perfect example of truly being innocent and facing a horrible ending. But at the end of the day, I think even you're admitting that although all of these people were being victimized, to some degree or another, they were committing a crime. We're arguing that if they were white and committed that crime, they would not have been treated as bad. But we are admitting that these were all criminals. Am I correct in that?
What I will agree with, and I hope you can agree with me. I'm not asking you to treat all criminals the way you treated this young man in Tennessee. I'm not asking you to treat all criminals like you treated George Floyd. What I'm asking you to do is find a cool medium between the way you treated them and the way you treated that kid that you took for a hamburger after he shot 9 black people in that church.
Yeah. And I can't argue with that. All right, Anthony, good talk. Always welcome back, man. Come on through.
All right, Chief.
Absolute. All right, looking in the tap the screen. 35,000 likes is possible. 500 plus of us in here. What do I say? You will never be banned, blocked, or censored on this program. No fear of that happening. This is a MAGA-friendly program. I do not ban or censor anyone. I believe that folks on the right do not always get a fair play. That's the reason the damn hat is there for you sellout, Uncle Ruckus, Uncle Tom platers in the comments. Your boy is a liberal, but I always enjoy talking to the right. This is what you like doing. This is the kind of dialogue you like maintaining, civilized dialogue with other folks on the other side of the aisle. Feel free to tap the screen, follow the program, and if you're brave enough, the box is open to you. Going straight to the box, if I can get this right here on my thing here. Okay, who was in there? Craig Smith was next. Let's make it happen. Let me see. Be the goat, I'll let you know. Just already have a Tiananmen. I hope it don't become Tiananmen Square. Let's not talk that way. Craig, good afternoon.
How you doing there, man? Glad.
I'm doing good, man. Are we going to stay calm, peaceful, and behave in this country after this video is released?
I believe it will. You might have a few fools out there, and hopefully the crowd will take care of that. You know.
Okay, so it is. So you would assume it is safe to go out for a nice barbecue meal in Memphis tonight, and a little bit of blues.
I ain't gonna say all that.
Tell them what, stay your ass at home and find out.
That's what I would do. I mean, even though I support the family and everybody, I'm not gonna be caught out there.
Yeah. Because once you get caught out there, you're caught out there. Yeah. What about sending a few Kyle Rittenhouses to the area to keep order and patrol?
No, I don't think that'll work.
I'm just fucking with you.
I don't think that'll work either. To be
hey,
honest
I'm just
with you,
playing.
I don't think it's gonna be any violence for the simple fact that they did come out not as quick as they should have, but they did come out, and it seemed like they're being a little bit more transparent about this.
Do you think that has anything to do with, as some of my callers have stated, that it happens to be black perpetrators with badges as opposed to white?
Oh, that's no doubt. And I don't care what nobody say about that. That's no doubt. I mean, that's what I pushed the button for, because if it had been, well, I can't say that because it's not. But I am so ashamed of these officers that did this to this guy. I mean, I don't know what he did, but it still doesn't call for him to be unalived.
Yeah.
You know, at the end. It's a shame.
You know? Well, you know, based on what I'm hearing, and we won't know until we hear it all, but this sounds like one of those crack teams that, I won't say crack commando, but, you know, a very hardened team of officers that are used to dealing with the worst of the worst. Undercover plain clothes, and they're used to, you know, like a gang task force of sorts. So they're generally used to dealing with really, really bad people. The problem is they become a hammer that sees everything as a nail. And if you argue back with this type of, and we all have them. If you live in an urban area, like I'm from south side of Chicago, we used to call them DTs, detectives, those plain clothes. They're walking around, they're driving a regular car, but they're literally sitting up in their car with all kinds of bulletproof gear and shit on. If you talk back to one of those folks, it's like having 4 stars in Grand Theft Auto. They don't handle you very well. And they'll counter 5 of them at one time. I don't know what this guy did, but they literally are problems walking around looking for people, in my opinion. They're like wolves. So is it possible that they may need to end up like retraining in that area or something?
Well, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, and we had them. They were called the Big Four.
What did you Dick Four?
Big Four.
Big Four. What was it, like 4 of them together or something?
4 in a car, unmarked. And when them 4 doors open, you knew what was about to happen. You know. And we also had them, you know, we named them Starsky and Hutch. They had the little cars and stuff like that. But I'm in Alabama now, and you know, I'm a store owner down here, and I was recently, well, not recently, but I was robbed at gunpoint I mean, they didn't get anything because I pewed them up out the store. But I have
Okay.
I have had them type of police officers come through. I know them personally, and they can say some crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? They can. I mean,
Yeah.
they honestly feel just like they said they whooped that guy. I mean, they don't really care.
Wow. Let me ask you this, kind of off topic, but a little bit on you. Considering you live in Alabama, some would argue that Alabama is the last racial holdout of the South. How do you see? How is? Because you left Michigan and you're in Alabama. I mean, in terms of tolerance and racism, have you seen any big differences from Michigan to Alabama?
Oh yeah, it's a real big difference. Real big difference.
Elaborate. How so?
Um, the intolerance is a little different down here than in Michigan. Um, the racism is right out there in your face.
In
Um,
what way?
I'm talking about policing or whatever. You know, they chased a guy on the freeway one time and he flipped the car over and he fell out and they still whooped him. You know?
But I have to ask you, just like I asked the last caller, why run? Why was he running?
I don't know, but I mean, if you're a criminal, that's what you're supposed to. Run.
But that's the whole argument. That's why they keep getting the benefit of the doubt, is because people keep saying if you didn't commit crimes, you wouldn't have to deal with this. I want to hear the Philando Castells, the innocent people, where this is happening to. The problem is the people that's getting this treatment, and I'm not defending the police by any means at all, but the people it's happening to do seem to be in the process of committing crimes all the time. Why is that?
Well, I mean, you got criminals out here. I mean, that's what they do. They
Yeah.
commit crimes. I
And
mean, still,
that's the problem is people are not going to have a lot of sympathy for a crying criminal. That's why the police are doing this, is because they know people don't give a damn about a criminal.
well, still, a criminal have rights. I mean,
I get it. I get it. I
I
get
mean,
it. But
he's not supposed to be beaten because he stole
yeah,
a bag of potato chips or something like that, or he ran a
right,
red light.
right.
He ran a red light or something like that. Because I mean, I've got stopped several times. I've had a police officer ask me to have I had any weapons in the car, and I told him, yeah, I got a weapon in the glove box. He
That
said,
is
well,
just to interrupt you real quick, as a concealed carrier, that is by far my biggest fear ever. And I know, and I drive across the country, so I know some states have mandated by law that you have to tell a cop that. That is the biggest fear I have. I have in my entire life, is having to look a cop in the eye and say, "Yeah, I have a gun in my car." Because Philando Castile is a real incident. I do fear that, and I have no criminal history at all. I fear that one as well.
yeah, but you know, I had a different outcome with it. He told me, I told him, I said, "You welcome to open up the." He said, "No, we don't need to do that." He asked me, "Did I have one in the chamber?" I told him, "No." He said, "Well, that's crazy not to have one in the chamber." So from now on, I have one in my chamber. You know, he gave me the
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
get it.
But
Yeah, that kind of sound like you got pulled over by Colin Nior. I mean,
yeah,
shit.
I mean, it was. And then I got pulled over by a black cop one time. He said I was trying to evade him. I was getting off of
Yeah.
work at 3 o'clock in the morning, and this particular light, it'll hold for like 5 or 10 minutes. So I took another street, um, which came into a dead end, but you can go out through the CVS parking lot. And I went out through the parking lot, and next thing I know, he's pulling me over, talking about I'm evading him. I said, "Officer, I haven't seen you. I don't."
What the hell?
Yeah,
You're invading him.
he said I was invading him. I told him I didn't even see him, wasn't paying no attention. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to go home. I'm sleepy. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to wait at this light for no 5 minutes.
You're evading. See, this is why I get a lot of folks on the right talking about liberal cities being soft on crime, because some cities have told their departments to not even, involve themselves in moving violations. It's because of shit like that, where you got a cop that's literally studying your vehicle paying attention to what you're about to do, so he can come up with a reason to interact with you or not. That cop should not be involved in moving violations. To come up and say, I had something like that happen to me. I was driving a Navigator probably about 10 years ago, and I had a cop. I could see it. I was coming from the gym, got the hand hanging out the window and shit, feeling good. I'm pump myself up. And I noticed in my rear view mirror, there's a bunch of cars behind me. And I could see one zigzagging among cars and getting closer to me. Get pulled over by that car. And when I stopped, I put my hands on 10 and 2, all of the good shit. And he walks around my car completely. And then he says, I thought you didn't have your seatbelt on. You have your license and registration. What the fuck? Like, you came from several cars back because you didn't think I had a seatbelt on. So it does happen. Now, that's not the time to take off running. But yeah, I do agree that in some cases, we probably would be better off in terms of police relations if some of them were just removed from doing traffic stops altogether, because it does become a fishing expedition.
Yeah, let me tell you one more story. And this was recently. I got stopped by one white cop. He said I ran a red light, which I realized I did run the red light. But it had been storming down here, and trees fall and stuff. And the cop, he didn't have no lights on in front of me, and he was just standing there. I seen the lights turn green, but that was for turning. But this was a new neighborhood that I had been in, so I went around him and he pulled me over. And I asked him, why did he pull me over? He told me, and I went back and I checked, and yes, I did run the red light. But another cop pulled up, and another cop pulled up, and the first cop had all my information, and I got a customer in the store, but I'm gonna finish this up right quick. He had all my information, but I felt something looking at me on the side because I didn't see the second cop come up. He got his gun drawn on me.
Oh, damn.
And I didn't do nothing to do that. But hey, I got a customer in the store, man, but I appreciate you, man.
All right, Craig. We got to chop it up again sometime soon. You know what's up. Come on back to anytime. Enjoy your business there, man.
Thanks, man.
All right. Okay. Comments. Thank God they were black cops. Well, and that's a huge problem. I believe it is a crime if you are a citizen and you are uncomfortable or even in a fight to some degree with another citizen and you pull out your firearm. If your life is not in danger and you pull out a firearm, I believe you can be charged with brandishing or something like that. Some cases it may even be assault. That's a problem because officers do often, simply out of fear for the damn job, maybe out of fear for the race of the people they're dealing with, pull out their gun when there is no threat. Being from the city of Chicago, it is very common to be driving down the street, see somebody pulled over, 2 or 3 heads in the car, maybe see a cop standing by the car with his gun in his hand. I saw that quite a bit. And so it is common, at least from where I'm from in the south side of Chicago, to see cops draw their weapon when there is no gunfight, no certainty that anything of danger is happening. And we expect the citizens to look at a man with a gun in his hand calmly when we know damn well, even if you answer the door in your own home with a gun in your hand, whether you're white or black, you might get shot. The cops do not see it very calmly when you have a gun in your hand, but yet, as a citizen, you should see them that way. All right, going back to the box. It is JPR. Welcome back to the program. That is traumatizing when you're not a criminal. Damn right it is. It is very traumatizing. Music, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, good to have you back on. Hopefully, we're going to be dealing with a calm night. What do you think? Once this video, which is probably anticipated around the same excitement of a Tyson fight, do you think we're going to maintain calm with this coming out?
Honestly, I think we might. I think we might maintain, decency throughout all this because, I mean, this is almost becoming a normalized thing for us, and then I'm not saying that's good, but I'm saying like we're almost kind of used to seeing things like this now, and I don't know if that's what they're trying to do, like desensitize.
But wait a minute, you're saying when you say desensitized or used to see, you talking about used to seeing people get their ass kicked by police?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is that's happening more and more, and people realize
Yeah.
that when you do stuff, trouble. I mean, like you were saying, it always happens to people that are criminals. You don't see it happening.
Usually, not always, but usually, the overwhelming number of these folks was in the process of committing some crime. Yes.
Yes, and like the whole thing with like Rodney King and George Floyd, they were both criminals. I mean, you can't deny that. I mean, if they weren't
Yeah.
being criminals, nothing that would have ever happened to them. I mean, look at
Well,
George Floyd.
here's why I disagree to some degree. I do believe that most of these folks are criminals. However, talking shit to a cop is a protected free speech right. If a cop pulls you over and you're a pig and that is protected free speech. They don't have a right to beat your ass for that, and that can get your ass beat. Same thing if you're a passenger and I get pulled over for speeding and a cop asks you for your ID and you tell them, I don't have to show you my ID. There are plenty of folks that have had the window bust out and been dragged out of the car. So I'm not, even though I believe a lot of the folks, particularly the ones getting killed, were criminals, this does happen to a lot of people that actually are doing things that they legally have a right to do.
Exactly. Like, see,
Yeah.
me even being white, living in a podunk ass fucking north or Midwest northern town. I mean, the cops are like that here too. I mean, they'll pull up to you with their guns drawn. They'll come in your house without a warrant sometimes. Just like it's like, I mean, to the stories that I hear, I feel like I'm black in some situations because they say that always happens to black people, but I think it happen to white people a hell of a lot too. It ain't just black people.
Well,
It's just them are the stories that they.
Let's tackle that, because even Trump stated that. Who sent me that shit? I appreciate that. What was that, Niner man? Thank you. Got me looking like I'm in Costa Rica. Let me ask you this in regards, because Trump has stated this as well. Cops kill more whites than blacks and things like that. I have to ask this question from a 2-point standpoint. First of all, if cops are doing this just as much to whites as they are to blacks, white people do have iPhones and Androids and their own personal recording devices. Why are there no white people filming this stuff? And because you look at social media, anybody can post something to YouTube. There should be plenty of white people posting their asses getting beat on YouTube, and you don't see that. And I guess I would say from the second standpoint, if the police are treating whites as equal as they are treating blacks, why are there so many white people talking about Blue Lives Matter and actually saying I stand by the police? That doesn't make sense to me. Can you explain that?
Well, see, there's a lot of different factors in that situation, and I'm not picking any sides on this. I'm just saying, okay, like a lot of it has to do with like the things that you're like prone to seeing, like your surroundings, like the things that you actually see on a daily basis. You got mixed groups of people saying different things because a lot of them ain't accustomed to what they're seeing. Because a lot of people don't see the same thing that a lot of other people say, but a lot of other people do see a lot of things.
Wait a minute. People in Wyoming are not seeing Mexicans crossing the border, but they're still complaining about it. You can complain about something that you're not actually seeing.
I mean, it happens to a degree, yeah. But I mean, well, the thing that needs to be done 100% is these cops need better training.
Right.
At the end of the day, because it's ridiculous whether or not whoever the person is, whatever the hell color their skin, this shit should not happen regardless. Bottom line,
Right.
It's ridiculous, it's unprofessional, and these cops don't need to be defunded. They need the reparations to train them correctly so that way they can do their job, so that way there's no more of this shit. And the cops that do it, they need to be fired or jailed. It's that simple.
Yeah, but how are you going to get that when the most outspoken group that complains about police misconduct, which you're admitting happens, is black folks, and instead of, let's say, whites who are being beaten as much as blacks, according to you, instead of joining with the blacks and saying, yeah, what the cops are doing is wrong, they're actually siding with the cops and saying Blue Lives Matter. If you admitting that this takes place and it happens to you more than the guy that's complaining and bitching about it, seem like you would be with the Black Lives Matter people as opposed to walking around with blue striped flags. I don't see the logic in that.
I never said it happens more than the counter. What I was saying is that it does happen. I mean, I've seen it happen. My own friends got their ass beat by cops just for talking shit, and it's like, I don't know. See me. I support the police.
Then let me ask you this. I mean, there is no denying that whether it's hands up, don't shoot, the I can't breathe movement, or even as of now, Black Lives Matter, there is a hell of a lot of resistance to these folks pointing out what the police are doing to them. If it's also happening to white people, the question I'm trying to ask is, why are these groups trying to tell people what the police are doing? Why are they getting so much resistance if a lot of the people giving them resistance are having it happening to them as well?
I don't know if it's just because, I don't know. You got more of a temper than us white folks, or what?
You know, that's fucking hilarious.
I'm just messing with you, man. But what I'm saying is that, I don't know. I like, me personally. I live in a small town, so I mean, even if I were to think about it, I mean, it ain't gonna make a big thing. But like, I don't let cops walk all over me no matter what. If a cop is doing something fucked up, I'm gonna tell him. I'm not gonna sit there and let him butter. Or if I see him picking on somebody, whoever the case may be, I'm gonna say something. That's just who I am. But see me, I'm not gonna join a Black Lives Matter just because a black guy got hurt on TV. And so it's like, why would I do that for a bunch of white guys? No, I will say something.
Go ahead.
I'll say something and I will back them up, but I'm not gonna make a movement about it.
Here's where I'm just totally outrageously confused. You got folks complaining about an athlete taking a knee. That is meaningless to somebody in a different part of the country, or somebody complaining that, well, down in southern Florida, they're teaching CRT to kids and you live up in Idaho somewhere. But you're getting your ass beat by police and you don't say nothing about that. That's what I'm saying. That just doesn't compute. If you are seeing people actually losing their lives, their freedom, and having a hell beat out of them by police, that should get a hell of a lot more attention than some dude on TV taking a knee while a song is playing. Yet the folks taking the knee has gotten national attention. And you don't see any weirdness to that?
Well, no, I'm agreeing with you, man. I'm just saying, like, it just. I think that it's no, I think that both of the situations are bullshit. I think everybody in this damn country needs to grow up. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit, come on, get together. Yeah. No, I totally agree with what you're saying, though. I really do.
Well, I got to move it on, but in regards to your comment about we need to get together, if you're admitting that this group gets mistreated and this group also gets mistreated, you want to get together, get with the group that's complaining they're being mistreated if you're also having it happen to you. That's one area where we could have easy, quick unity. You're admitting it happens to this side. They're complaining about it happening to that side. These two groups should be together as opposed to pushing back. And that's not happening.
No, that's what we need to figure out there, Mr. Liberal, because if we figure that out, we'll have the key to the country.
I think it's pretty easy to figure out, but I do appreciate you coming through. Music, anytime. You're welcome back. All right, looking in. As always, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 45,000 likes. This is a MAGA-friendly program. I do not block, ban, or censor any damn one just for disagreeing with the host. It's all about free speech here. First Amendment rights are paramount. You don't have to agree with no damn body in here, yet you will be allowed to speak. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome too. Show your boy some love. 45,000 likes, 500 plus. Appreciate you guys rolling with your boy. Let's move it back to the box. Niner Man 319. Old Glory as a profile. Let's make it happen. Looking in the comments. Brother, you guys need to stop talking about race. Let's tell people. Hang on a second, Niner Man. Real quick in the comments, Peter Paterick says, brother, you guys need to stop talking about race. Let's tell people to behave. Love to all. You think that might work? Niner Man, good afternoon.
How you doing, sir? First, I want to say I love your live. I hope you get enough followers where you get a spot on TV or something. Maybe you get a spot on the
Sure.
Take one spot. Because
I would love to be. Yeah, I would
you're
love
fair
to be
to everybody.
Yeah,
which is
I've
what
been
I
a
like.
big fan of the Five since it came on. Bob Beckel back in the day, Juan Williams, and I forgot the politician's name they got in there now. But yeah, big fan of the Five. Appreciate that accolade. What do you think about what's going on with Memphis? You think this is going to turn into something horrible?
I hope not. I mean, by what the Fox News commentator this morning talking about he's friends with the Tennessee governor, and the Tennessee governor said the tape is horrible, one of the worst
Mm,
things he's ever seen.
damn,
And
damn.
yeah, it was on this morning at 7 a.m. He said it was the governor and the guy Harold Jones. What's his name? One second.
He must have had a
Lawrence
call. I'll
Jones.
hold on.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
I'm here. I had to look up. Lawrence Jones says he's friends with the governor of Tennessee and said um, the video was horrible. So I'm hoping it's not going to end because these cops are
They've
getting
been
arrested,
charged.
and I hope
Yeah, they've been charged.
if what they did is if they get arrested and do life for there's no excuse. Law
Yeah,
enforcement officers are supposed to be held to a higher standard. They're supposed to be to help the people. There is no legal authority to beat the shit out of somebody because they ran away. The only time you're allowed to use lethal force is if somebody's threatening you to stop a rape. You can't shoot somebody for running away from you because they haven't been convicted.
yeah.
You know what I
It
mean?
it
They're
does.
not.
It sounds from what I've heard from everybody that have seen it, their analysis. It does sound like it's going to be a tearjerker. Whether the folks riot and protest or maintain peace, it sounds like the video will be a tearjerker. They said the guy was beaten for 3 straight minutes,
Yeah,
so
I mean, when you
that's
got
a
the governor.
long time to get beaten by 5 people.
Yep. And what makes me sad is because I'm a Republican, but I want to see the cops held to a higher standard because a dirty cop gets honest cops hurt more than anything else because then people don't trust the cops. Then you have the MAGA people on the right that say, "Oh, cops can do no wrong," and then you got the people on the left that say super left, like so that says you don't need cops. And then it doesn't
Yeah,
hurt me because I make a decent income. It hurts the lower income people that are having their stores broken into. I mean, look at what happened after George Floyd. Murder rate went up 30%. You know what
yeah.
I mean? They
But
took it way too
let me ask
far.
you that in regards to how you in my opinion, properly stated how both sides view police. I have to ask that question. Why do you think so many folks on the right do have that attitude where cops can do no wrong?
I don't
Because, like my last caller suggested, they're killing whites too. So why do they have that attitude? Because
I
they do seem to have that.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm a big cop supporter, but I also believe they can do wrong. Maybe too many shows like Law and Order, which I watch every day, or you got the news before this movement. I mean, you never heard anything bad, really. So if you all you hear every day, like you can get indoctrinated to a certain point of view, like people over in Iran were told that America is the great evil. They don't know if we're the great evil. They're just told that every day, so they believe
Right,
it. Or
right.
the same thing as North Korea. I mean, a lot of people on your lives hate cops, not your, but in the comments I'm reading hate cops, but they're a necessary evil. I mean, if we didn't have cops, the rich areas aren't going to be affected because
Yeah.
they can afford private security, they can afford fences, they can afford all this stuff. It's the poor people that want to get screwed over. So you got to have, I think you need a federal standard with federal laws, or if you screw up these laws, you go to prison. There is no withholding the body cameras. More funding for better training, better background checks on people. Maybe do a background check like when you get a security clearance. Go and talk to their friends, see if they have any, if they ever said the N word, if they said this, if they said that, and meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
You
the shit's
know,
not going to end.
it's not uncommon to hear folks ask, just like with the Confederate flag, people go, well, this didn't used to be a problem with police. Why is there such a problem at this point? And my spiel on this is always blame Steve Jobs, the late CEO of Apple. When folks go, well, why is there such a big problem with police now and there never used to be? I say blame Steve Jobs because his creation of the iPhone has put a video studio in the hands of every American. There has always been complaints that the police are mistreating people, but because the police are given the benefit of the doubt, and certainly if you're someone like George Floyd, Or hell, even Rodney King, and you walk in saying the police mistreated you, and you got a rap sheet like that, nobody's going to believe you. But thanks to Steve Jobs, you can say, no, really, look at this. And at that point, your criminal record and history doesn't matter when you actually see the beating live. So for folks who wonder why all of a sudden do people hate police, it's because they can now see and validate what these folks have been complaining about probably since the beginning of time. But how do we get the cops to now realize you're not able to get away with the same shit you used to?
I think it's going to take a few years because when, like, let's go with my kids, right? I try to teach them not to be entitled. But the school district says, oh, you deserve this, you deserve that. When people are entitled for a long amount of time, oh, you can do this, you can do that, you don't just stop what you're doing the next day. I've been on 10 diets. I still love Burger King and Hot Pockets. You know what I mean? The shit doesn't stop because you want it to. You have to be forced to. Like my doctor said, hey, fat guy, lay off the cheeseburgers. You're going to have a heart attack. You're not going to just stop because most people don't change, is what I'm saying. You got to be forced to.
Well, now you got me wanting a hot pocket. But let me ask you this, and that's some good shit, by the way. Dimebag in the comments. This is a point I want you to tell me what your take is on this. He stated, too many people would rather film on their phones instead of stepping in. That's the problem, with many exclamation points after.
No.
Let's say what happened with George Floyd. There's obviously folks standing around filming it, yelling out shit at the cops. Should they step in?
No, because if you got a bad cop that's going to feel threatened, how easy it for them to use that same excuse they're using on the person they got on the ground.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's what I'm thinking.
And what I'm worried about is the circular effect of what's going on right now. Like, you got a lot of good cops. I believe there's more good cops than bad cops, but the bad cops got to get driven out of the force. But now you got so many people that hate cops. You got the 2 cops that were shot in Atlanta over the police in the forest, and they were shot by privileged white people. 5 of them was in the Post. Rich, one guy was related to a Democratic congressman, for Christ's sake. So then you got the people that shoot the cops. So the cops get pissed off, and they're looking for the bad ones. They're looking, well, they just shot 2 of our brothers. We're going to treat the next person worse. So then the next time it gets on, well, they just treat it too. So, and it's the circle that never ends. And I don't. America has to meet in the middle.
At that point, that's just perpetual. That's no different than a gang war. You're going to go actually, because you think cops are treated wrong, you're going to go out and actually do it back. Yeah, that should be beneath any law enforcement department.
And I work in law enforcement. I was in the military, but I don't believe that cops can't do wrong. And the bad cops, like, I don't know if there's a show on HBO. I just started watching it with the wife. We Own This City. It's about the police corruption. It has the guy from The Punisher in it. It's amazing about police corruption in Baltimore. And if we don't get the good people, the cops, to actually stop acting like idiots, then nobody's going to trust them. And then the crime rate in these poor areas are going to go up and more. I mean, I'm not worried about getting shot walking down the street. I'm not worried about MS-13 chopping me up in a bodega. I make a decent living where I can move out of those areas.
Right.
It's these white liberals in New York, let's say, that say, oh, the police are so bad, so we're going to make it where a sexual assault victim, the R word, has to give their address to their assaultee so they know where they're at. Or, that's in New York State. That's on the bail reform law.
We don't want to provoke revenge, but I got to move it on, Niner man. Good to have you on.
I got one more thing for you here. Hold up. Let me see here.
Let's have it.
There you go.
Go ahead. Oh, shit. Thank you very much.
I really do enjoy your show. I hope you get a spot someday on national TV.
Hey, you'll be one of my first guests. Come on back to anytime. All right, looking in the comments, it's the pharmaceutical companies that did this to the 80s and 90s generation. Method Man. In regards to the decades we talk about, even though there is no shortage of police mistreatment, police misconduct all over the news, up to including folks suggesting that we have become desensitized to it, make no mistake about it, this shit is probably, right now in America, the lightest it has ever been. This is why you hear minorities often complaining about the slogan on the hat, "To my rear," when they ask the question of when was America great. The point I often point out, at least from my own personal analysis, is that I believe for certain people in this country, this is the best it has ever been. Even with what you see on the news, even with Karens or snowflakes or whatever the hell each side of the aisle want to call it, it was worse back then, but because you didn't have the cameras and the media, there was no way to know. So even though you see it all over the damn news nowadays with the cops, the way they're being treated or the way they're treating people, whatever the case may be, I would submit to you, if you go back 70s, 60s, 50s, 1940s, it was way worse. This is the best it's ever been. Because there's a lot of cops that know I can get in trouble for doing that. If I say that, they're going to fire me. If I do that, I put my pension at risk. You go back to the 1970s or even the early 80s, they didn't worry about that. You didn't hear about it as much because people didn't have cameras and shit like that, like you do now. But I'll be damn sure it was happening to a greater number back then than it does now. Going back to the box, it's never been great for my Hispanic people. Wow. You're not probably the only one to suggest that. It is what it has should been. I don't get your comment there, chat. I'm talking about fake drug war that was made to keep African Americans down and everyone else. The war on drugs was a failure. We know that. Nobody had a hard time getting high during the peak of the drug war. I get that. In regards to the drug war being created to keep African Americans down, I gotta say it's very similar to being a criminal and then complaining about the police. You don't have to partake in this. And being candid, my own very father, died of drug abuse. Nobody's forcing you to do this. Now, did they put the drugs in our neighborhoods to fund the Contras and things like that? That's a good argument to make. May be valid indeed. Nobody forced you to sell crack, though. Nobody forced you to get into the game. So I don't want to make it so that all African Americans that were either killed during the drug war or received a lengthy prison sentence, I don't want to make it sound like they were all victims, because there were plenty of folks on my block putting rims on their cars and dressing nice because of the proceeds from the drug game. People got into that shit voluntarily. It's no different than folks on the right, particularly my beloved MAGA, suggesting that some kind of FBI person literally egged the crowd up into going into the Capitol building. If you are a law-abiding citizen, nobody can make you do shit that you know is wrong. Talking about the drug game, talking about January 6th. If you choose to do something that you know is wrong, you do not get to blame somebody else that instigated it. And that's kind of where we're dealing with on this. I hate to give my spiel on it, but you know right and wrong. You know it's against the law to sell drugs. You know it's against the law to threaten to kill a member of Congress. You know this shit. You don't get to blame somebody else for instigating it. You know that's a crime. Going back to the box. Was it 405? Cowboy. Good afternoon, Cowboy. People can force you to do things. Yeah, it's called rape, Becky. Nobody can force you to do any damn thing. If you force somebody to do something, it's a crime. But you don't show up to court and blame Trump if you were forced to do something. Let me go to the box. I don't know where to go with that. It's unacceptable from the president. Yeah, I don't excuse President Trump for January 6th. I know a lot of folks do. My argument is when Black Lives Matter calls for a protest and it turns violent, we blame Black Lives Matter. On January 6th, Trump called for a protest. It turned violent. Does he get a different set of rules? We don't look at someone that hosted a Black Lives Matter rally that turned violent and say, well, you said protest peacefully. No, you organized the rally. They showed up and they broke into all these damn stores. You're responsible. I don't know how that changes on January 6th. Looking in the comments, already at the box. We'll move it on to reveal the deer. I don't know. Got her. We love President Trump. Nothing wrong with loving it, guy. You got folks that show up to court all the time. Son been charged with a triple murder. I love my boy. That's fine. You can love your guy, but that doesn't mean he ain't responsible. Reveal the deer. Good afternoon.
How you doing today?
Doing good. Good to have you back on. We got a hell of a video coming out of Memphis.
Yep.
Are we going to be hating tonight?
Nah, I don't think so.
Shit. Why? The guys have been charged. What would be the goal? What would be the purpose of getting upset? They've been charged with the crime.
So I told you yesterday I live 15 minutes north of Memphis.
Yes. Yes, we did talk. Yes.
Memphis this morning to get a check, okay? From a homeowner.
Okay.
It was a ghost town.
Oh, shit. So they expected some drama.
Yeah, but here's my thing, okay? I was talking to a buddy of mine earlier about this. I said, here's what happens. Right now, the whole world is mad about what happened to that guy. Everybody agrees that it's completely wrong.
Yeah.
But what happens is when they go, when these people go out here and act foolish and tear up stuff, tear up their own communities, trying to prove a point, then it takes away a lot of people from being mad at what happened, and now they're mad about the stuff being tore up.
But let me interrupt and say this in regards to the notion that everybody is mad about what happened to that guy. We've seen George Floyd go from struggling with police to completely deceased right before our eyes. And there were no shortage of people saying that what happened to George Floyd was his own fault. He died of COVID. He died of fentanyl. The point I'm trying to make is there are going to be people, even though you're saying everybody is mad at what happened to that guy, there's going to be a lot of folks who are suggesting that the cop is innocent and this guy lost his life based on his own intentions. Candace Owens did a whole damn documentary suggesting that George Floyd was not killed by police. Same thing with Rodney King. There were people who were saying that what happened to him, he deserved and the cops did nothing wrong. So I don't know if I'll totally agree that everybody is pissed off at what happened to the guy.
Well, everybody I've talked to and everything I've seen on Facebook, everybody's mad about it.
I hope it stays that way. Maybe it can lead to some actual real change happening. But I have to ask this question, I don't for folks, do you lean right or left politically?
I don't like neither one of them.
2020, who'd you vote for?
I voted for Trump.
2016, who'd you vote for?
I voted for Trump.
Let me ask you, why do you believe so many MAGA tend to believe that cases like this, they're often supporting the police, even though even Trump himself said more whites are shot than blacks by cops. Why, if this is the case, why are there not more folks on the right joining these groups and pointing out the flaws of police as opposed to flying the Blue Lives Matter flag and saying we stand by police?
I can't answer that. I don't know. People, no matter what happens and no matter how well we come together as a country, you're always going to have that 5 to 10% that are completely off the wall either way. I mean, you got people that support Trump that are so far out there, and I'll be the first to say, every time Trump talked, I was like, shut the fuck up. Excuse my language, but that's what I said. I'm like, just shut up. And the reason why I voted for him in 2016 was because he wasn't a politician.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I voted for him in 2020, I ain't going to lie to you, because my daggum stocks were making money.
Well, I have to ask you, 2024, if it comes down to DeSantis versus Trump, where are you voting?
DeSantis.
Okay, all right. So you don't believe Trump is the best guy going forward in 2024?
No, Trump need to run again.
Okay, all right. Fair point. Just wanted to find that out.
And here's why. I mean, I think he had good policies, but he drew so much attention to himself, and that's why nobody got. I mean, I feel like that's when when he come out being all loud, I'm gonna expose this, expose that. That's when all the junior high school drama started in DC, and now there's a lot of people like me that I don't like neither one of them. I don't.
Yeah, but can you, when you say he needs to shut the fuck up, for instance, can you not blame him for continuing to do that stuff if he can say these things, Pocahontas, Sleepy Joe, Nervous Nancy, and you guys are cheering and egging him on? Notice the difference when he said Ron DeSanctimonious. There was no love and adoration for MAGA for him saying that, so he stopped saying it. If you guys had did the same thing when he was criticizing the other side, he wouldn't have kept doing that. It was because you guys were egging him on and giving him fuel.
Well, wait a minute. I wasn't egging him on.
You know what I mean, though.
Oh,
You know
I
what
know,
I mean.
and I agree with you. I mean, you know, I mean, my son, he turned 18 last March, and that boy, I mean, it's almost scary to me as a father of how much he worshipped Trump. I'm like, and I finally told him, I said, son, I said, yeah, Trump done good at some things. I said, but he don't need to run again. And he's like, why? When I told him all the reasons why I thought he didn't need to run again, and he's like, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Well,
runs, and if he wins, what's going to happen? Nothing. Ain't nothing going to get done. It's going to be thing like
but
Joe
let's ask that. Let me run that by. I got to move it on, but I want to ask you this before I let you go. Do you buy into the FBI's claim that Trump's rhetoric has been leading to an increase in hate crimes?
No.
Okay, so you don't believe that?
I don't believe that part. No.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
I don't. I mean,
any idea why they would do that? Any idea why they would just say that against the man?
I don't know. I mean, there's hate everywhere. I mean, I'm a white roofing contractor. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I do work in Memphis all the time, and I've ran a test, and I bid on 10 houses that were owned by black families, and I put the bid in at cost, and I only got 2.
You think it was because of color?
Yes.
Wow.
I got black friends that own roofing companies, and they've even called me and said, hey, you know, I have trouble getting the white clients. I said, well, I have trouble getting the black clients. Well, why don't we start one company?
Well, let me, speaking of that, before, because you got me ask you another one before I move on, because there is this report that there is so much intolerance and racism in your area. Is it true? I've heard this. I'm not a resident of Memphis, obviously, but is it true that due to racism, you guys have 2 different mayors in that area?
No, so they have so Tennessee, they do stuff different than a lot of states. Like I grew up in Mississippi. Like the county, so in Mississippi, the county supervisors run the county, okay? Like in different for that county. Tennessee, they have commissioners in each zone, okay? But they have a mayor for the county, and then every city in that county has a mayor. Like, so like in Memphis, you got Germantown, you got Bartlett, you got Arlington, Colleyville. So all of them have a mayor, and then you have a city Memphis mayor, and then you have a Shelby County mayor.
But this so this is just the way it's set up. It has nothing to do with racism.
No, it's set up like that across the whole state.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I got to move it on. Reveal, always a good talk. You always welcome back, man.
Thank you.
Good talk. All right, looking in comments, he probably has a bunch of Mexican workers in his roofing company. Oh my God, that came from Black Mike. Black Mike says since Biden took office, you don't see too many white supremacists coming out. I don't know about that's interesting. You know something? I will say this, because obviously in 2020 we had a huge summer of unrest. It has calmed down a hell of a lot since Biden has been in office. I mean, we could argue for whatever reason you want to bring up, but shit, they were even naming streets Black Lives Matter because they were pissed off at Trump so much. And then obviously athletes taking the knee all over the damn place. It was a lot less peace. You might argue that you paid a hell of a lot less for fuel and inflation was cheaper. Fair enough. But yeah, it is a lot calmer right now in terms of racial division, because outside of this incident coming out of Memphis, has there been any other major police event nationwide since George Floyd or something under the Trump administration. Biden's halfway through his term, and yeah, it has been more peaceful. That's hard to deny, which is why you hear folks talking about the economy and other things of the Biden administration, because divisive-wise, there's not a lot going on. Maybe the ultra MAGA statement didn't go across very well. Because the liberals aren't steering the hate, says K. Michael. That is why the country is doing better, because the liberals are not steering the hate. Okay, all right, fair enough. As I say always, this is a MAGA-friendly program. I do not ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. The fact that you may disagree with the host doesn't mean shit here. Come in the box. Give you plenty of time to state your point without fear of being blocked, banned, or censored. We'll try it again with, is that Murder? It is my boy Murder SRT. And Cowboy is going to work. We'll try you next, Cowboy. But, Murder, good afternoon, Murder. Welcome back to the program.
Hey, boss. How's it going today? Can you hear me okay?
It's going good. With a name like that, are we going to experience anything bad tonight? You think we're going to behave?
I really hope they do, because it makes no point for someone to destroy their own community over something that's happened. And I understand there's a lot of bad cops, and and there's a lot of good cops. But there's only, if the bad cops, let me put it this way, if the good cops would stop protecting the bad cops, then how good are the good cops? You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you that question in regards to if the good cops will stop protecting the bad cops. If you are a quote-unquote good cop, but you turn a blind eye to bad activity, does that still mean you're a good cop?
No, it don't. It don't. That's my point. I mean, you can be a good cop and be on that line, and you could either go either way. But the problem is that if they would get ousted in their own workplace, they would get that label. Like, okay, this guy's not looking out for these cops, so they're gonna go against him all the time, no matter what.
Yeah.
And they charge these other cops pretty fast compared to the other cops that didn't get charged over months and leave with pay and all this other good stuff.
I have to ask you, like I asked my previous guest, the fact that they charge these cops so quickly, do you think race plays a factor in that?
Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. But the problem is that they seen an opportunity to probably get rid of 5 people of color that did something wrong. I don't know what led up to it. I haven't been on the news. I've been working a lot of hours. I just watch you, listen to what you're telling me. But I have no idea exactly what happened. But, if something like that, nobody deserves to lose their life over any circumstance. Over any circumstance that could be arrested, or if you're going to be shot or something, beanbag them, knock them down, or shoot them below the leg. Something. There's laws to protect everybody. If you shoot somebody under the waist, it's not going to be attempted murder.
Yeah, but you're not gonna ever get law enforcement to be trained to shoot somebody in specific spots of the body. That is very difficult. If a person's running to hit legs, that's why they teach you center mass. It's the easiest spot to hit. So I don't think you're ever going to get folks talking about aim for the legs.
I agree. I agree. I didn't know if the guy was running or what. Like I said, I haven't been up on the news whatsoever. But you're only as good. The cops, this is going to end eventually, because I see people from when I grew up in the 80s and 90s in Chicago, Northwest Indiana, Gary, Indiana, East Chicago. The people act different now. The kids are getting raised different. Okay, they're a little more aware. They're a little more. They stay inside.
They're more aware because they got access to more valid information. When I came up, all we had was what the teachers taught us, Sesame Street or some damn encyclopedia. Now they can go on the internet and come back to school the next day and say, "You lied, Mr. Smith. That's not true." We didn't have the ability to do that.
Yeah, we didn't have Google and we didn't have that stuff. We had a library we had to go to, a newspaper.
Right.
That's all we had. But And one more thing I want to say is I want to know why the DOJ hasn't prosecuted Trump after all this stuff that's happened, man. I don't know if Merrick Garland, part of my French, is a fucking pussy. Why are they scared of this fucking guy? Why are they scared of this fucking guy? You know, I ain't scared of him. If I see him and you put me in a box, I'm gonna tear his ass up just like he wants to talk about other people.
Okay, wait. I don't want you to get banned by the TikTok guys. I'm not gonna ban you for shit. But in regards to the DOJ not prosecuting Trump, right now the biggest issue was him having classified material. Now that Biden and Mike Pence have been found with classified material, the DOJ is not going to do anything to Trump on that. At the best, he's guilty of obstruction. But if you charge him for possessing classified materials, that means Pence and Biden has to go down too. And we're not going to tolerate throwing all of the heads of state for the last 8 years in prison. That's not going to happen. So what else do you want the DOJ to charge him with?
Well, I mean, you know, I just want them to hold everybody accountable for what they did.
You okay with Biden? You want Biden to go to jail?
I'm a Democrat. I'm not okay with that either.
Yeah.
I feel when these people leave office, there should be somebody in there checking every single paper from the archives, whatever, to make sure that this stuff does not get taken. You know,
I can see that. But at the end of the day, the biggest crime against Trump right now, as opposed to locking up Pence and Biden, is probably going to be obstruction, and that's not a big crime. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, obstruction is not a big crime. They're not going to throw a former president under the bus for obstruction. I mean, I just can't see it. I'm not saying he don't deserve it. I'm not saying he may not deserve it. I'm just simply saying that ain't going to happen.
Yeah, but you see, I mean, they're only telling us what they want us to know. They don't know when he had that golf. They don't know if they had that golf tournament over there, when the Saudis were over there. Whoever was over there got to look at them documents and point things out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
but there's an obvious counter argument. Biden got possession of materials he's had since he was a senator. Who the hell's been in his house? I'm just simply saying you got to look at it from both sides. Biden has had documents for probably a generation at this point. He's got documents in his home to the point where somebody could actually have become an adult from being born. The documents have been in his possession that long. So any question at this point you'd ask about Trump could apply to Biden as well.
I agree.
Yeah.
But what they should do in that case, instead of locking them up, is stop them from running again. Period. No matter what.
Biden too.
Pence. I don't care if Obama had him. I don't care who had him. I don't care who's got him.
Yeah.
I don't care who's got him.
Well, if you want to deliver justice appropriately, you're probably right. But at the end of the day, I can't see it happening, man. But murder, I got to move it on. We do.
Hey,
come on back to Ethan.
Let's hope nothing happens in Memphis, man. They don't need to destroy their own community whatsoever.
100%. I'm with you on that.
Makes no sense.
Fair enough. Catch you later. All right.
I agree with the gentleman as well. You had a little background noise, so I missed you at the end there, Murder. But I agree. I'm assuming most of you too are hoping that at the end of the day, the populace behaves. As he stated, I want to tackle one statement before we move back to the box. It doesn't make any sense to destroy property, burn down businesses and things like that in your own community. A lot of times these small businesses, particularly these neighborhood supermarkets, are the only place a lot of the citizens in those areas can even get food and groceries. So it doesn't, it's awful to burn down your own businesses that are serving your community. So I do it. Well, at the end of the day, although I do not defend or want that to happen in any shape, fashion, or form, I will tell you this. When it comes to rioting and looting, one reason why they do it, it works. It works fast. It works very fast. What do I mean? Well, Jesse Jackson was complaining about Confederate statues back in the 70s and 80s. How long have people been complaining about police, particularly African Americans? Probably at least since your grandmother was born. But the moment folks start rioting and looting, as bad as that is, as wrong as that is, as dangerous as that is, shit just starts to happen and get done for some reason. All of a sudden, the cops have to wear body cams. All of a sudden, police officers are suddenly being held accountable. For some reason, the damn statues are coming down. I'm not defending rioting or looting. I'm just doing my analysis and pointing out that it does accelerate the progress that these folks are pursuing. Not saying do it, not suggesting that we do it. I hate the outcome when it is done. But it does make stuff happen. If you protest peacefully, protest the right way, you would do it like folks who protested abortion. You'd stand on a corner, read the Bible, maybe show pictures of babies that were, unalived or whatever phrase you want to use, and you would do that for decades with no success. However, when you start going to these clinics and all of a sudden the doctors turn up unalive and things like that, people, shit, we got to figure out something to do about this. I hate to, talk about violence, but when you do things peacefully, unfortunately, it does take a lot longer for it to come to some sort of conclusion. I'm not here to justify it, promote it in any way, fashion, or form, but the rioting and looting, it does seem to move things along faster. All right, going back to the box. I was talking about January 6, 2021, insurrection, when the cult got violent. January 6th is going to be a day that lives in infamy, to quote the late FDR. How about the record number of new homelessness right now? Trigger, 9. Nobody gives a damn about the homeless. I hate to say it that way. When you look at the money sent to Ukraine, well, we could be doing things about the homeless. We could be helping out veterans. Russia just invaded the Ukraine last February. You think there was not homeless in this country? You think the veterans were being treated right before then? We didn't give a shit about them. We're just using that as an excuse now because we do not want to help the Ukraine for whatever political reason. Once the Ukrainian war is over with, you think they're going to tell Biden, well, now start sending that money to the homeless? No, they're going to go right back to, when it comes to helping out the homeless, what is the common statement you hear? Who's going to pay for it? So the homeless thing, in my opinion, is just a ruse. It is just a diversion. Going back to the box. Let's try Cowboy again. I appreciate you holding. For Cowboy. Looking in the comments. Memphis, Tennessee, please stay an eye on your family. I appreciate that. Cowboy, good afternoon.
How you doing, sir?
I'm hoping for peace. That's what I'm doing. I'm really hoping for peace.
Well, let me say this before I get to what I wanted to say. One, man, your commentary is what I've been looking for, and the people that's on here is what I've been looking for. I'm so tired of seeing so far to the left, so far to the right. There's an in-between, and it feels like there's no place for in-between in this country, and that's kind of frustrating. I digress.
Appreciate the compliment. Thank you. And that's what we try to maintain here, some type of civil dialogue between both sides. I appreciate that.
That's what I miss about it. But what I was wanting to talk about, and I made the comment back to the policing and what's, to me, and, I don't know. I mean, it's not as simple as, I say this and that's the end-all fix. But to me, to kind of help fix our police problem, two things. One, they need to be paid more. Two, they need a 4-year degree. And the reason I'm saying is to kind of back it up. In my field of degree, I work in the field of agriculture. I'm in a situation where I manage people, and it has been stressful because, I went to school for agriculture. I get out into the professional world. I'm dealing with public relations. I'm dealing with human resources. I'm dealing with about 5 or 10 different things I didn't go to school for, but none of the stuff that I deal with is life endangering in that moment. You're asking these police officers to go out there and, pay them $30,000, $40,000 a year to make life, decisions in a split second. I'm saying that to say also, I understand the situation with the police. I think I have PTSD from dealing with police interactions. So I'm not the one to sit there and say, well, I'm pro-police. I believe there's good and bad, but it's not going to get any better if we're just basically amping these people up to go out there like they're going through guerrilla warfare and think it's going to get better out there.
But let me, okay, because in regards to what you said, I want to throw this at you because this is straight out the comments. Keith Hobbs asked the question, what is a 4-year degree going to do for cops? Since you brought it up, I kind of have the answer, but I'll let you elaborate on it. What is a 4-year degree going to do for police?
You're gonna have to put them through some type of training other than that, 18-month, 24-month training that's going to allow them to be able to assess the system, assess the situations better than what they have. I've never been in a situation where I've had to make a life and death decision to, pull a gun out, but I know there are trainings to be able to say, okay, I'm coming into this situation with a different attitude and mindset. And, take that mindset instead of the mindset of I'm going in there to war to, it's me against them and I'm gonna make sure I walk out alive. You definitely want them to walk out alive, but I feel like majority of them are not trained to handle the majority of the situations that they're being put in.
And I agree. Two other quick comments in regards to what you just stated about obtaining an education. Gritty Girl said it does take longer to become a hairstylist than it does a cop. That part is sad, but this one here I thought was a bit humorous. Justin RB16 says, in regards to what is a degree going to do for police, the answer is nothing. There are racists in college. So,
yeah.
I mean, this person is obviously talking about from a standpoint of racism. Do you think getting an advanced education could help with intolerance?
It's not going to help those that are racist. And that goes back to you just hoping, and then that goes back to also paying them more. You may have more people willing to go in there and go into that field if they say, okay, I may be risking my life, but I'm at least going to be able to support my family comfortably.
True.
Instead of having these people that got a vendetta.
But I will say this, though, in regards to paying police more in terms of money, when you look at the departments that are having the problems, it's generally big city police, New York, Los Angeles, Minneapolis. Those departments do pay good salaries. In Chicago, for instance, starting salary is probably around $70,000. They're not getting paid poorly. They're making decent money.
And I don't know what the cost of living is, but I mean, it's $70,000 a good cost in salary in Chicago.
Enough to feed your family. I mean, your wife would probably still have to work, but it's enough to live the American dream.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I wasn't aware on how much they get. I feel like they got paid less in different areas.
You guys may not have, you might not have matching Escalades, but in terms of having a car, a home with a picket fence, if you are a police officer, your wife got a regular job, you guys should be all right. If you don't have a whole bunch of urchins walking around, a bunch of kids, you should be all right.
Okay. But back to the education, I still think, training them better than what they're getting, would help. That's not going to take care of the racism. Racism is racism. You're going to have to weed those folks out regardless. And that's where I'm like when the one guy said, if there's bad apples, take care of the bad apples. But the ones that are literally out there hyped up on adrenaline, they're scared. I don't think they went in like, I'm going to get this black son of a gun right here. I think they just like, oh, I'm supposed to be scared of this person, so I'm going to protect myself before I figure out what the heck is going on. Type situation.
Well, the problem with the racism is it does lead to initiating contact that you might not otherwise initiate, and then having a suspicious view of the person once you're dealing with them, which can obviously lead to quick escalations, mistakes, and just being overall hostile toward the person you're dealing with. If you just have that mindset, like George Zimmerman, who was not a cop, but he had a mindset that if I see a black person walking through the neighborhood, they're up to no good. So that automatically means that when you have contact with that person, you already have a negative viewpoint of them. So that interaction is not going to be good unless that other person is Dr. Phil and talking your ass down because you already got a negative viewpoint of them.
And that's where, the school will come in a place where you let them, you start training them about the communities that they're about to go and police. Give them that background. Okay, you're going into a impoverished neighborhood, and this is why it's impoverished. This is why you got people walking around doing what they're doing. Not to say that everybody's saints in there, but change that mindset when they go into that neighborhood. Or, it'd be lovely to have people police their own neighborhoods. Get people from within those neighborhoods to be the police officers in those neighborhoods.
Yeah, but then you face another hurdle. There is a huge amount of intolerance of police from black folks. In other words, if you got an all-black neighborhood, finding enough black people that want the job. Because let's be honest, if you put a badge on, I'm from the south side of Chicago. If
Yeah.
I become a cop, half the neighborhood thinks I'm a sellout, I'm a snitch. So you have a hard time finding
It's
enough people from the community to do the job.
I didn't say it was an easy fix. I said this was my opinion. This is my two spots I got. No, it's a like everything. I mean, it's at some point something's going to have to get started. But kind of my first comment I said was it's so far left and right. Like to fix this, I feel like we're gonna have to come in between, and nobody's trying to come in between. It's either defund the police or the police can't do no wrong, and it's like that's not the answer.
That's a problem, is the tribalism of it. But Cowboy, you know what we got to do around this time. Appreciate you coming through, man.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Always welcome. All right, looking comments as always. Before I make it clear, a typical victim, rescuer, or typical victim, rescuer, or non-typical power tripping racist, or I don't know where the hell that was going. They stopped training them in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Bring it back. A-Rod, I don't think they ever trained them in regards to the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. I think that is the problem, is the cops have never been properly trained the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The citizens started learning what that shit actually means and holding the cops accountable for not knowing it. That is where the problem is. You used to have citizens, if the cops want to search the car, let them search the car. If the cops want to pat them down, let them pat them down. If the cops want to ID you, let them ID you. Now the citizens know their rights and they're telling the cops no, and the cops are not savvy enough to know the citizens legally have a choice to do so. That is where your problem is that the citizens are now more advanced in terms of constitutional education than a lot of people that are actually serving as the law defenders. That is a problem, but I don't think they ever knew the Bill of Rights or the Constitution. Wine problem is the police union. Damn right, says Stephen O'Brien. The unions are a horrible issue. We had a big push from folks on the right in regards to teachers unions, city transit workers, and things like that. The unions get involved in politics. They're misusing union dues and making it difficult to get rid of people that are not efficient or effective at their job. That was a huge push to get rid of unions. But because it was being done by folks on the right who chide themselves as being law-abiding, they let the police unions escape through the cracks, even though the police unions do every single thing they complained about from the teachers unions and all the other unions. So you are correct. The unions are a major problem. As always, folks, it is around that time where I make it clear this is a lunch break live. So tonight at 6 o'clock, if you're willing to tune in, we're going to be doing this from my makeshift studio that I used to do my night shows from. I want to watch this video and we could all tune in together live and, chop it up a bit, so to speak. Hopefully it's not a tearjerker. Hopefully we're not watching somebody, I don't know. We are going to be watching somebody get killed on camera, but hopefully it's not as bad as we are thinking. But this is a lunch break live. As always, it's a MAGA-friendly program. It's always a pleasure to talk to folks on the other side of the aisle. The whole purpose of this is that show that if I can maintain civilized dialogue with folks on the other side and vice versa, if we can do this in this little tiny-ass corner of social media, they can do the same shit in Washington. They're just not trying. So I appreciate you folks tuning in. You can be anywhere you want to be on social media. You're hanging out with your boy. It's always an honor. But right now, I got to go. Handsome Liberal. Catch you tonight.